for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Surprised nobody's come after that yet.
Give it time.
Agenda approval. Is there any additions? Good afternoon. Running the meeting.
I had one,
Yeah,
under new business,
yeah.
highway department, vehicle inspections. State.
Okay. Anybody else? Make a motion, we approve the agenda as read.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public participation policy applies to all selectmen meetings. A copy of it is on the back of each agenda posted in this meeting room and on our website. Public input is limited to 3 minutes per person. Agenda items only. And I have got one announcement here. The Alton Town Clerk Tax Collector's Office will be closed on Wednesday, October 13th, 2021, for the New Hampshire Tax Collectors 82nd Annual Conference. All right, new business, Highway Department, vehicle lift, tire machine, balancer. Get pretty used to being here on Mondays, huh?
Every Monday.
I'll have to open it up after this one. Lift already. Your point with the weight difference.
Yeah, I would like to have the lift. Right now, we're showing some pretty serious fatigue within the arms of the lift itself. We've had some issues with it actually lifting and then releasing that way. And
Is there a safety lock on it?
yeah, it does have a safety lock. Appears to be electrical of a hydraulic issue there with the solenoid. But the lift's over 20 years old. Speaking with the town mechanic, he feels that once again, we're lifting heavier vehicles with the new 5500 series vehicles that way. So I'd like to look to make we did run this by CIP, trying to group it together, and they did not honor that. And so that's the reason why I'm bringing it before the board, requesting an RFP to put the whole package together under one RFP that way.
We have the money in the equipment account.
Yeah, I proposed the out of the highway building improvement account. They are fixed objects. In other words, they are mounted. So from what I understand, when we last looked at that account, as long as it was something that was of a permanent nature at the property itself, considered to be covered under the CRF as it was developed.
Just had a couple questions. In your bid specs for the lift, you had rotary lift. Am I mistaken there?
Oh, that's what it says.
Yep.
Two post rotary.
Two post rotary.
Is rotary a brand name?
No, from what I understand, it's a design name. I'm not, I'd have to ask Warren exactly what the terminology is, but from what I understand, the post lifts are that once again, only from what he's told me.
Well,
is a rotary
I was
lift.
just under I thought it was a brand name, but I could be wrong.
I don't, so.
Yep.
I know that there's several different ones. There's Mohawk and
Van
a lot of
Pack
brands.
is- Bunch of them, yep.
I know that the ones that, we have received a few different quotes to find out, what we're looking at. But I will double check that to make sure that it's not a brand name, that it's, and if it is, make reference to a brand name, I'll strike it. Yeah, I would not want to be held just to one.
And if that lift, Mr. Chairman, is 20 years old, it's used quite frequently. But,
Rotary's the manufacturer of the lift.
It is, okay.
Well, I understand what he's saying with the heavier vehicles we're getting.
Oh,
too.
yeah, going
yeah.
from 12,000 to
That's,
16,000 pounds.
we're jumping up.
Makes a big difference.
Since Rotary's in there, I'll strike that as a manufacturer. So we'll just take that out and just call it
Pretty-
two
I was
poles,
pretty
two
sure.
poles, 16,000 pound lift.
We're not gonna put this out for bid for 30 days. We're gonna put it out a couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll probably run it for pretty close to I would say for a month, to put that out. No doubt we could definitely use it. Our balancer is down right now. We had a malfunction with that.
Yeah, that's gonna be
In
what,
order to get it back in service, we were able to get it functional, but it may not be calibrated enough to balance tires right now. I think it's taken an awful beating with the larger wheel tires, and
Yeah.
it really wasn't set up for that as
It's
far
not
as
made for that.
19.5 and 20-inch tires.
So right now, there's about 74,000 in that account after the deduction for the salt building.
That's correct.
So with these two purchases, that will leave about 35.5. These are. These three purchases, so,
Then you'll see that I have another one after.
Yeah.
after this. So-
I know. I figured that one in there.
So
too.
your buildings, as we all have talked about, the buildings are, they've had some age on them, different, whether it be the dexterity of the actual structures themselves or the equipment that's been within it.
17,000.
On the balancer and the
Tire machine,
tire machine, that would be 17, and then the lift itself was
18.5.
18.5.
And these are estimates because you haven't
Right.
gone out to bid.
That's correct.
The estimated cost of replacing the both approximately 17, the way it's worded.
I'm sorry.
I got 35.5.
Right.
Yeah,
17, so it's a little.
Right, yeah, that would be just for
It's a little
the
confusing.
two pieces being the tire machine
gee,
and
yeah, you're referring to
the
those.
balancer.
questions?
We won't be bringing amount money tonight, we're just.
No, just the RFP, just to
Just the-
allow it to
yep.
go out, just the RFP.
Mr. Chairman, I move we allow the Public Works Director to go out for RFP for the highway garage, reference a new lift, a tire machine, and a balancer.
Second.
Discussion? That 16-pound lift gonna be big enough? We won't go a little heavier.
I don't believe you can, Virgil, unless you go from the floor up.
Right.
Yeah, not to, with lifting arms, I think once you get into above that, you have to have the post come out of the floor.
Or you gotta have the wheel lift.
Yeah, or the whole wheel lift to lift the truck up off.
Motion on table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Highway Department garage furnace replacement.
Once again, this is aged item within the highway garage. The furnace itself has been repaired a number of times. The heat exchanger firebox has been welded a number of times and is at the point now that the inspector and folks that service it for us don't feel that our continued efforts of welding it are going to be safe. Feel it should be replaced with a more efficient type unit. Get quotes. I tried to get 3 of them. Trying to stay with basically the same type of a unit.
Still gonna burn the oil, the waste
Still be
oil.
used.
Still is,
yeah, Used oil. This is a used oil
Energy
unit.
logic.
It's kind of more like a torpedo tube type of thing. The way that they explain it with this new design is that it's a longer heat chamber and helps disperse that. And then, of course, we're getting the heat out of it, of course, but
Sure.
it saves the heat exchanger from having as much fatigue as quickly, the way it's explained to me.
Now, do we generate enough oil to make this used oil? Or do we get it from somewhere else?
From what I understand, we have purchased some in the past on certain years that they've had to purchase some. They buy transformer oil. I know that they've purchased that in the past, used transformer oil, same byproduct that way. And so with that in mind, we also get used oil from the transfer station. What they don't use up there, they ship down to us. We've had some pretty good shipments and we're getting filled up right now. Scott's been great shipping down what deals he can't keep up there.
Yeah, because he uses it too.
How do you store that?
It's stored, actually, they have a series of military fuel tanks that are in series outside, actually, undercover in back of the highway garage. They're in a containment area and,
Yeah, I've seen them there. Okay.
right, and they siphon themselves down in as called upon, or pump down in, I should say, into the larger holding tank that's at the bottom of the heater unit.
The heating unit, yeah.
This comes all with a new flue kit included in this price.
Yes,
Yeah, is that the tank and everything?
that, I believe we'll
Just the
still be
burn.
using the same fuel tank.
That's just the burner?
I'll double check on that.
It's just burner and float.
But I noticed, want to go with this one type heating system.
Yeah, this one has this type of design. There are many different kinds that are out there, as you probably all know. But this one is, I mean, once again, I've had great experience in the different towns that I've worked in with this company which is Aero Equipment out of Littleton, and they are the guru that I've used in the area for actually servicing and also providing the product. And, they said you can buy there is, the
Thousands.
same unit and you can buy it again, he says, but you will, based upon how that furnace works and how hard that it works, they didn't.
Yeah, need a-
recommended going
Need
with
a little bigger unit in there anyways, because we've added on to the building and
right.
And 9,000 square feet. You don't know what the recycling has, do you?
At the recycling
Yeah.
facility,
Yeah,
they have the same kind of unit that we have now,
same brand?
same brand,
Yeah, good, okay.
same brand, smaller unit, of course.
I thi-
but
Yeah,
in that-
I think you'll find Arrow's the,
are we?
yeah,
sort
good
of
rep.
the,
Good
for
company.
this area, I don't think
And
you
that
find
gives
anybody
me
else that
parts.
comes in.
Seem like a lot of them using the energy logic.
Scotty's,
Yeah. But I think Arrow services all that too, and
Scott, are we saving that for Pat's in case we need them for Scott's?
If there was something off of there that would be worth, we can certainly check with Aero. They indicated that they would, take and remove the old unit, but I can discuss that with them if.
I'm just wondering if we want to hang on to it for Pat's or Scotty's.
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
even know if it's worth it.
yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, that what I see that being replaced on those is generally, of course, you're always replacing your nozzles and that kind of
Right.
stuff, but might be a burner kit. Sometimes you end up having to have either the preheater or sometimes the pump on them ends up having to be replaced. But most everything else is either, I used to, this isn't the first time I've dealt with heat chambers. So when I was both in New Durham and in Moultonborough, I had to replace the heat chambers. And like you say, when you start looking at the estimate, what it is to replace a heat chamber on one of these,
Oh, yeah.
it's, you're
Cheaper
better
to
off
buy
buy
it.
a new unit, and
Yeah.
get the whole new boodle, but just because of warranties and everything else that comes along with it.
You can only change them so many times before the machine becomes worn out.
And it's time, I mean, that's 20-something years old.
It's old
down
enough
there, so
where
it's-
One plus at least,
Yeah.
that's what the guys down there tell me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
That'll, and if we approve that, and the other items, it'll be down to about 25,000, that account. Ballpark.
I think at this point, it's a necessity, really. I mean, you got a lift that's no good. If somebody gets hurt there, it's gonna cost you a
Oh,
lot more than
that's-
$30,000.
That's,
So I think we're into a situation where it's time we fix it.
Motion. This works for that block purchase. Garage doors.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I don't want to go. Vehicle inspection for the highway bond.
Oh,
Yeah, I just have one question, please. We don't have a fleet inspection station.
no, we don't.
Have we thought about it?
I don't know. I have to ask
Oh,
the
just throw things at us.
Bob,
staff.
Bob, I actually asked that question to Warren today, just not to cut you off.
Yeah.
And I made a phone call to the people, because I do have an inspection station. So I made a phone call and got all the information from Warren for a fleet. But you won't be, well, we will not be able to inspect police cars because they're under the GVW without that Gordon Darby machine.
Yeah.
That Gordon Darby machine's expensive. But anything, highway department, fire department, any of that can be inspected by Warren once he does the one-day class.
Yeah, but if you got it over there, why can't we just run them over to you?
No, absolutely, by all means. I'll send you a bill, Virgil. I don't have a problem with it.
Oh, because I see the bills we're getting,
Yeah,
we're paying 45 bucks a whack.
You're still, you'll still have to take, I think it's more than that for fire trucks and bigger trucks.
Oh, yeah.
What is it, $90, $100 a pop for?
We pay $80, take them over to DePrizio's, and of course we have the, I'll be honest with you, we've been very fortunate because mechanics have them in good shape when they go over there, so usually don't have any
Usually you don't
issues.
have any issues.
If something ends up coming up, they're great with us, making the repair, photos, whatever it may be, to make the validation that way, but
But if you can get a fleet
Yeah,
inspection station, which I believe you qualify for, and
Do all the
you'll
town
save
vehicles.
transportation,
oh, yeah.
moving vehicles around.
Plus you do all the town vehicles.
You have
You
the
know,
room
your
there
parks
to do
and
it.
racks. and-
yeah, anything over 8,600 pounds.
Yep.
You can do an inspection on.
I
Anything
didn't know
under
what
that
the reason
has to
was.
go on that machine,
Right.
and the machine's $170 a month. It doesn't pay for itself in a fleet
Or
shop.
Unless you got 8 lug around.
Unless you got a city, Manchester or something where they got
Yeah.
100 vehicles to do. But it takes, he said they do a class once a month. It's a one-day thing. They give you everything, and then when Warren was ready, they'll come, the state trooper will come right to the garage, inspect the garage, and when he's done, you'll have a inspection
It's the
license.
way to do it.
I think it'll save the town a lot of money.
In the long run,
Yeah.
short run.
Yep.
Yeah, I never, when I was in New Durham, they had fleet inspection, they had a mechanic at that time. When we did away with the mechanic, then we did away with the fleet inspection. We actually, in Moultonborough, I never did have the fleet inspections there, just because we didn't have somebody that was able to do that. Or was at that caliber, so to speak, to handle that part of it and the paperwork and everything that goes along with it. So, but yeah, I mean, staff hadn't approached me yet, so.
Might be worth something to look into.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you. On old business. Fire department fireboat. Discussion. Maybe we could get this paid somehow.
Chief.
Gentlemen,
With a new payment plan.
Did I come up with a payment plan? Town administrator may have.
Okay,
So the boat is approximately $349,000. And it was to be split up between two accounts.
Three.
The.
Right.
Yep,
three accounts.
yep. And
What was the third account? Because we had the ambulance.
no, he
Equipment
meant
reserve.
300,000.
Three payments.
Three payments, okay.
So the contract called for three payments, one this month, one in approximately January or February when they would be halfway through, and then the final one upon completion. So I spoke to Eastern Boats, and they are more than willing to switch that into a two-payment thing. One in the beginning, which would be this month, and the one upon completion. So the 50% could come out of one, and then when the warrant article passes, the 50% could come out of the other. If that's what you want to do.
Yeah, but,
what happens if it doesn't
It
pass?
doesn't pass.
we're having them build
So
almost a $400,000 boat. Depending on a warrant article, if it doesn't pass, we're still up in the air and they're sitting on a.
Well, we're under contract.
and as I've mentioned in the past, you do have the legal right to pay for the full boat out of the ambulance fund, should you choose.
Could we pay for it out of the general fund?
If we can find the money somewhere, I mean, it would be,
General fund.
actually, it's,
Oh,
The-
I
For
got it.
the purpose right now that we did at town meeting last year was to put it in the fire department capital reserve.
Right.
Taxpayer came forward, researched. Out town attorney said, you just can't pull money out of the general fund just because you don't have enough money to pay for something. So it's either right now, we're in a situation, it comes all out of the ambulance fund right now. Or when we go to town meeting, ask them to clarify the wordage of that.
Well, I
They
think,
clarify the wordage of that.
And you're fine.
We don't have to go back and ask for the fire vote again because the money will be already in there because we've already raised the
correct.
money this year.
and I agree with fixing the wordage on it.
Most definitely.
I
I
don't,
agree with that, but I think that we've got to figure out a way to either pay for the boat or stop the boat being built. Because if that wordage doesn't get fixed, when we spoke for that money to go into the ambulance fund, keep it there to buy ambulances. To me, a fireboat, not that many transports on it. The ambulance, would you have one, I think it was.
The fireboat does go out more often for medical than fire. Yes.
That's what I thought. Because we asked for a list and there was only three, one transport on it and two by Peggy's Cove Dock. Yes, we did. We asked for a list and there was three on it.
There were more than 3 medical calls on that list. And I just,
Just about 50-50.
so there's another option you could do if you wanted to be safe. So first of all, I just want to clarify that the wording doesn't need to be fixed. It just needs to be clarified. And that is being done. But you could also have another warrant article on the ballot for the other 50%. Should the fire department equipment capital reserve fund clarification not pass? And if it did pass, then you could take it out of the fire department equipment capital reserve fund. You could disregard the other
Right.
warrant article.
If it did not pass, all the town meeting. Three, pass, special warrant article. Taxpayers raised a certain amount of money to be refunded the revolving account for the fire department. Half for the fire, half for the. To me, it's not a big situation. Are on the contract, already signed the contract. Approved it. I don't know if they have started anything.
Just barely.
this point, we default on that contract, we still owe what they want. My motion is that we go ahead and we make a payment now.
So you want, the motion would be for 2 payments, not the 3 anymore.
And making one payment now.
That we need to have wordage in a
They've
letter,
agreed to.
new contract, sent in by Eastern stating that.
Mhm.
The contract we have right now says a third and a third.
That's right. That's right.
And that's not a problem to change it to just 2 payments.
They don't even need a new contract done for that. I mean, they're totally fine with it.
That first payment is due this month.
Yes, actually, I think it might have been the end of September, but
Vote slated for production this week. So it should be in the molds technically today. And it was technically the first one
Jim's-
was required before that.
Yeah.
Jim said that boat is considered an ambulance.
yes, it's part of the fire department
is.
apparatus, the
I
fleet of
know, but that's-
apparatus. And all
So
their
when it transports
apparatus.
patients, it's actually licensed as an ambulance.
Well,
Because the way we set up that ambulance fund wasn't for boats.
and
It was for medical use and medical transportation.
That's correct.
of ambulances. So this falls under fireboat, it still is being used for medical apparatus, medical EMTs. We're transporting people when they need transported, so it is being informed of the use of an ambulance.
Yes, it is.
And also as a pumper when there's a fire out there.
Yeah, it does both.
It's
Oh, I
it's
agree.
doing
We
both
need a
uses.
decent boat to, we do have a lot of lake frontage.
And I agree with the ambulance issue, but we funded it with 2 separate venues. One was fire equipment, and one was ambulance. It was a 50-50.
Right.
Now we discover
Can't use one.
we can't use the fire equipment one. Now we have to address that issue. And I believe it's addressing that's not going to cure the problem for us.
Are we fixing that wording on that too?
See wording on what, sir?
On the equipment fund?
The town administrator is my understanding.
That's
Well,
That's what I
Chairman,
just
But understanding this
explained.
year from our meetings,
Yep.
that we having a warrant article to change the fire equipment fund from 1970,
Right.
the fire truck fund.
Yep.
Fire truck fund from 1970 to the fire equipment reserve fund. I believe that's the way it's somehow going to be worded.
It's actually the fund because there was no such thing as a capital reserve fund back in the 70s and 80s, but it was used for equipment and apparatus. So the DRA suggested to just close out this one and open up a new one. You can
Yeah.
clarify it a little bit, same sort of a thing, majority vote.
This is why I'm asking, because if
Yep.
it was used for equipment, trucks and stuff, and this is no different. I know they're saying it is, but if it was always used,
As the taxpayer brought up and said it was the fire truck fund.
That it was,
That's the way it was worded there, the fire truck. Say fire truck. That's where it came up. I believe that's where Jim said.
It appears that was the original purpose of the fund. And it never got repurposed at town meeting, so.
Yep.
It's,
Probably many of the other capital reserve funds that way, and I'm sure they're looking at those now.
oh,
I hope so.
we are per the selectmen's request a few meetings back. Yep.
Yes.
So we won't be fixing that warrant article. We'll be doing away with it and a new one.
Adding a new one.
Okay, I
That's
just want to
correct.
clarify.
something
Because
updated.
Because if you wanted to change just the purpose, it would be a 3/5 vote instead of a simple majority.
Oh, yep. Okay.
But when it changes, we'll be able to buy the boat equipment too with it, through it.
Yes.
So the
And-
wording will not say the fire department equipment reserve fund, as it states in the warrant articles today, it's going to say the truck fund. There is no such thing as the fire department equipment reserve fund.
So the
That we all thought we had.
the first warrant article will be to close out the fire department equipment capital reserve fund and open up another Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund with the purpose being clarified and expanded. And we have to do it that way because the DRA has it in their records as the Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund. It's been on a warrant for decades as the Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, and it's been used for not only apparatus, but
Oh,
equipment.
That just sounds like an oxymoron.
I know.
So, yeah, the problem is that's the title, but unfortunately not the purpose.
Yeah.
So we're,
I would still say you gotta go back and clarify that 1970.
Me too.
I would ask Jim
Has to be.
to see if you need to get that clarified, because if you don't clarify that, get it out the books, we're gonna have the same problem.
Be screwed.
2 or 3 years, when somebody comes in and they didn't want to have a fire boat or something, and they didn't like the way the boat outcome came.
So
I still believe that's where this all comes from.
That was why I was asking, because it ain't gonna be long before somebody comes in and bucks it again. To make sure we have that set up.
well, I will ask him. He has been involved in this a lot as far as the 2 warrant articles are concerned. And you know, I can also have the finance manager check with the DRA to see if we can close out an existing account, which is under a certain name, according to their records as well as ours, but yet was just called the fund in 1970. Should we, you know, I'm not sure if we can close out an account and use a different title than what they have on their records. You know what I'm trying to say?
No, I hear what you're saying.
Oh, we have registered.
But we can look into it.
The tax will come in again, bring that up and say it's still on there, you folks never do it like.
And we're gonna be in the same predicament again.
So that's something we gotta get
especially if
clarified.
somebody doesn't like the outcome.
Definitely.
That's when they'll come
That's
up.
just what happened here.
That's exactly what happened.
That's what I don't want, is us getting caught in the middle again.
Truck fund. I will check with him. You're welcome.
So there's a motion on the floor.
Get a second? Get a second, yeah.
I hadn't heard you ask for a second, sir.
Made a motion. I didn't hear a second.
I'll second.
All right. Discussion. What do you need me to repeat the motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna repeat the
I'd like to
motion.
repeat the motion.
Chairman, I make a motion.
Yeah.
To fund the new fire boat, 50% down payment from the ambulance revolving fund. Second payment be paid upon completion.
Out of the same fund.
I'm just asking for a 2-payment fund. We, as the selectmen, have a right to use a revolving fund if we have to, and hopefully we will.
I'll second that.
I did. I already did.
Well, he just did it again.
He just said that
I make sure it spells that out, the second payment. You're not approving out of the, that fund yet.
Moving it out of that fund, yes.
Because you said second payment upon completion.
Yep.
We're only approving 1 payment.
Right, all right. We don't have to prove the other payment.
from the
next
ambulance.
May.
From the
And
ambulance
was that
revolving
delivery
fund.
date?
Right.
That's the first payment from the
What do
ambulance.
you got for
revolving fund.
delivery date? You got any idea?
Originally, it
moved
was
up a little bit.
projected as August.
Excellent.
So we're actually in really good shape in terms of production. So they said between 60 to 90 days for build once it hits the molds, which is going to happen if it didn't today, sometime this week.
Before you move on to the next item.
Yes.
I have a question on the, you all touched on a second warrant article for the second payment. Did you want that out of fund balance, or I didn't catch what it was that you all said,
There wasn't,
that a just in case warrant article?
there wasn't.
Hopefully, we're gonna
No.
get the,
Hopefully that when you come
Equipment
back
fund.
to us and it didn't get wrong, now, that is saying 90 days, that puts us in effect. I wouldn't say that we take delivery until we want to find out.
try it.
Yeah, I'm good
That
with
should get
that.
us into April then at this point. I mean, April, in
May.
that time will be 2 town meeting, but they didn't approve it, then it's like, we'll have to say it comes out of the revolving fund, the other half. Then we ask the taxpayers to pay back the revolving fund the following year.
Yeah.
I believe it will work only because it did not, it won by a good amount of votes.
It did.
Did not wasn't a close call vote.
Right.
I explained to them what has happened, why it's happened. The taxpayers will understand.
Basically, it's house cleaning.
It is, well, yeah, it is house cleaning. And I mean, we do need,
Clarification.
we do need a decent vote
Unfortunately,
down
after
there.
all of this, I would dare say, maybe I need to come in when I get out the board year 4 months and say, I'd like to have you return all your purchases for the last 20 years from the fire department. But I won't do that.
I'll see
You
you,
would not.
I'll see you in April. I'll do it.
They have my motion, have a second, sir.
Yeah. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
thank you, Gil.
Welcome aboard, Pat.
Yeah, I didn't know
That's
if this
right.
would be an appropriate time or not, but
Yeah.
thank you all. I'm obviously here full time. I've
Thank you for serving. Thank you very much.
especially through inspection month, as some of you have alluded to, it's been kind of a rough go at it. I've been working half my time at the highway trying to get the vehicles running because it's been a challenge as we have an aging fleet. But thankfully we went into October and everything's inspected and running.
Everything's good.
So,
Oh, we missed you the other
If
night.
you want to put my
At the
store up
budget
for another
meeting.
6 or 8 months, go ahead.
your store up?
Oh, Eddie used to go around and inspect the store.
Oh.
All right, moving on. Grounds and Maintenance Department, Town Hall, masonry, front stairs and ramp. Nice.
At least we got one.
That's all we got was one bid, huh?
Yep.
Well, it's all we got. Get bidders.
I think a lot of people are just right
They're
out
busy,
straight.
but I mean.
They're busy, but
Even before.
No,
we had trouble getting bidders.
The problem with this, you don't have any left.
no,
You go to the cities and you contractors.
there isn't a lot.
It's a dying art.
No, there's not many guys around doing
It's
this.
like roofing.
The way he explained himself
Yep.
and the things that were
Yeah,
not
that's-
necessary to do.
Seems like it's all there.
It's all there.
Yeah.
We made some suggestions of taking off the cap and the railing, and he feels as though it's not necessary. I trust his professionalism, that doesn't have to necessarily all come off, that the sidewall can be dismantled.
Yep.
And put in weep holes in the bottom and reassemble and repoint it.
Yeah, I met with him, seemed to be very knowledgeable. I met with him, went over everything out here. And actually gave me a lot of information. I'm not a mason by any means. And masonry,
Yeah.
pointers here as far as that this building is mortared with a limestone. And the limestone allows for that breathability of the brick. And he said, he saw where there'd been some touch up done, just trying to fix things.
Trying to hold it
keep them-
together.
Hold it
With
together.
caulking and
He
things.
said, unfortunately, that's not the right material to do it with, even though it did the trick. Don't get me wrong, but it's not
It wasn't the right.
he doesn't recommend that. He said he would be more than happy afterwards to work with the town and consult with them as far as different things that could be done and in the future, as far as other phases and that type of work as well. He said it's a great building. He really felt, engaged because it's close by. He lives in New Durham.
Mhm.
So I thought that was good.
So you feel happy with this firm?
Yeah, I mean, we did, Kelly was great. She was able to jump on because I was busy at the time. She called references, checked with them. They all gave good references, excellent references, actually. Adds to that is his other work. Done a lot of preservation work as well. Done a lot of work also up at the Castle in the Clouds there at the facility up there, some preservation work as well.
I think he explained everything, like I said, very well, and I was surprised at the price. It was lower than I had anticipated.
Yeah, I really didn't know
I was thinking much more than that.
What I understand from Kelly, I think there have been a discussion with Kelly and folks in town administrator relative to this fund, special fund that was created
Cleft Moral.
for the maintenance based on that. So, Kelly, felt that was appropriate.
We talked to the trustees.
So once you approve this, then I go take it to the trustees of trust funds.
So the bottom line is $14,520. The $50 an hour, that's just,
Yeah, if there was something
Extras.
came up that was extra that, was unforeseen, that once he took something apart and that we did not see as an underpinning,
Right, oh, we add
that would be what his
something on.
labor rate that he would be
that'd
giving
be a
us.
contingency.
Correct.
I'm glad he actually included pictures of jobs that he's done in the past, what he's done. He explained how much time he needs. And he'll make it so that the people can still get in the building. All by the RFP.
That's a real good labor rate for a stonemason.
It is. I see no
Even
problem.
the price is more than fair.
Yeah, yep.
Ooh, yeah, I figured.
I think so.
I thought it'd be double that.
25 to
I was
start.
thinking 25 to 30.
Well, no, don't say.
Yeah,
That's a good, he's a fair price.
No, that's definitely,
Because you don't know exactly what it's gonna involve. And he's a
I know.
professional and he.
Yeah,
knows
we're
what
not
he's looking
masons.
at.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I move we approve the submitted contract for $14,520 plus a labor rate of $50 an hour of contingency.
I don't think you want to put that.
And
in
any
there.
contingency must be approved by the
did you read
Public
the
Works
bottom
Director.
here? The Public Works Director and the Parks and Recs Department, Recreation Director.
Yep.
To issue the award letter and set expenditures of up to $15,950. Monies to come from the Town Hall Improvement CRF for the Cleft Morrow.
So when I issue those letters, I issue it for the 14.5, put in for the bid.
But you gotta have a little bit of play.
We asked for you to place that contingency in there for the mere
Yeah.
fact of a couple different things. One, for the town administrator to be able to do her work that she has to do with the trustees, just so there may have to be some authorization, just so they are aware that it could go up to this.
And with
I assume that might be a part of the conversation that she may have. That allows for that, if something comes up that we,
And with old buildings, there's always a wrench thrown in the works. You know,
I'll second the motion.
Bob's, that's 14.5.
You're gonna amend then?
Hmm?
You're gonna amend your motion? I'll
And the-
my motion to add
The
the
15,950.
15,950 in your motion instead of the 14,520.
You withdraw your motion, I'll read it again.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
I withdraw my motion.
Award
Because I don't
letter
have-
expenditure of up to 15,950 with monies to come from the Town Hall Building Improvement CRF or the Cleft Moral Trust Fund, Board of Selectmen and trustees of trust funds approval. That's my motion.
Okay, I second.
Well, I think, Mr. Chairman, I think the motion should state 14, well, and we're putting it in one lump sum.
We're putting 15,950. That's what they're allowed to spend on the front stairs.
Only gonna award the contract. for
He's only awarding the
Yeah.
contractor's price.
14,
but
yeah, with a contingency, 1450.
In case
How about
something
as-
goes wrong.
How about just to make a motion to approve as presented? It's all here in black
That
and
makes
white.
more sense.
I just read it and got a second on the 15,950. So. More discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Be nice to see them done.
Yes. Thank you.
hold him
Thank you.
tomorrow, he was prepared that, he was kind of keeping this window open.
Yeah.
So
That's
hopefully we'll
great.
be able to start right off.
He's perfect time.
Make sure I coordinate that. same with office.
Yeah,
Perfect
it'd be
time.
nice to have them done before winter. And
Trying to have everything wrapped up by first part or into
Beautiful.
November as you know.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Next is Highway Department, Church Street, School Street. Project costs. Have you got your?
Invited
time
my
and bills on you?
cohort and road road projects.
Now,
to
do
the
you,
table.
Scott, do you have your time with the crew or anything down here,
Sorry.
down on Main Street? Time for the crew and whoever was down there?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, we, basically, things were lumped together. We had a meeting and dialogue, kind of go over that. And even though, I mean, I think it says in that change order what the money back was for. It basically took care of that overtime cost that was incurred.
Both departments,
Yeah.
What, it took care of all of your costs too?
with a lot of negotiation, yeah.
Oh,
Chairman, if I may.
yeah.
Reading the letter, Scott. School and Church Street project coming down, 8 totally, 30,751. Second paragraph down, but these change orders will not change the bid award amount to the contract due to the not wearing course of asphalt will be removed from the contract due to our decision to hold off payment. So what I just want to try to understand clarification. Though they're not going to do the top coat, are they still getting the full award of their bid then?
No, so that'll be backed out of that.
Approximately how much?
Um,
A lot of my pages were blurred, I couldn't read them.
Yeah.
They're really small.
Yeah, they're really
They're really small.
So I'm gonna ask from now on, when we have these come to our agenda, because even on the internet, I couldn't read them. They started out good, then they all of a sudden faded right down. to
Yeah, they're
magnifying glass, I still couldn't do it.
tough to read.
I had no problem with your change orders from what I read.
I do.
Just want to make sure, is Integrity coming back in next year? We
No.
paid this to their contract with GMI?
no,
Or are they all done once we approve?
They want to wipe their hands of it.
they're all done.
They just want to leave.
There's a couple different reasons for that. One is deals with their, well, first of all, they end up having, we hold retainage. And that'll be something that'll be at the next, one of the next discussions as to the percentage of retainage. Right now, it's 10% on the retainage for the project. And then whether or not we want to look at a reduction in the amount of retainage based upon when the job is completed as to how much retainage we're actually holding. So that generally those types of things are discussions that end up happening. Sometimes you do it incrementally. I've seen it done that way where you start out at 10 in the winter because you're holding it for a full year. And then after you do that, after you got through this freeze and thaw, then you say, well, things look good. We're willing to give you 5% of your retainage back, for an example. We'll still hold 5% for the rest of it. So that's some discussions that could come about as well. And then the other part is to reduce the amount of their bond. So they have a bond now in the full amount of what the project is. So if in fact, once they're paid and their performance has been done, then they can reduce, from what I understand from the way the engineer described it, is they can then reduce their bond amount. So that way, because I didn't realize this, but apparently when you're doing those type of businesses, you can only, you have a certain bond rating and it might be $10 million. So if you've got 10 projects out and they're all $1 million, you can't take on the 11th project because you're maxed out on bonds. So, they're looking to, once again, keep going and moving along. So if in fact they can close this one out, shorten their bond or shorten their bond amount out, then that allows them to continue to march on. As far as doing the paving next year, them coming back and doing it, I think they want to, the idea is, and I've done this with other projects as well, when they've come this close to the end of the season, is that, we generally would end up taking that and just doing the top afterwards. But once again, we wouldn't do the top if in fact we found that there was imperfections that were, the base pavement. So if there's, see degradation of settlement, cracking, that kind of stuff going on, which would indicate there's something happened with the subsoils and compaction below. And certainly then that, you wouldn't put any pavement over it just to cover it up. So you would bring them back in to try to investigate and figure out what the issues are. That and making sure that, the water system is, you know, as we all know,
Of the
freeze.
contract was supposed to be done.
I'm sorry,
Completion of the project was supposed
last Friday.
to be last Friday. Were they completed last Friday?
Other than the items on the punch list, which we do have some punch list items, the signals, still need to be in. I think I
Signage.
brought
So
my,
are we penalizing them? Amount of money per day for not being done on time?
we have not. I mean, I actually, at the last board meeting, I actually went another week beyond what they had asked for.
Right.
In that situation there. I thought the signals were gonna go in on last Friday. That's what they were hopeful of. They were having problems because of the back order of the signal that's there, but they had expected that they would be in and completed. And then they're trying to get a striping crew in, required to make sure that they stripe out the crosswalks. And their signage is due to be delivered, expected it either today or tomorrow, because they said they were gonna ship it to the highway garage so they could ensure that it was safe there.
So they're not done.
And the punch list that we
And the
did on our
punch
walkthrough.
My last question, would be, are you going to make them fix that intersection of School Street, Main Street, and Church Street, Main Street?
We discussed
Well,
that
that's a
today.
good question. I mean, I saw on Facebook, I had a question from a resident in regards to that. The idea was that to ultimately fix it, we were gonna fix it at the time we did top.
I
And
don't think it should be left that way for them.
Not for plowing.
so,
And plus, it's a state road. We're into the state road. We're leaving it worse condition than what it was. It's never like that with the state road. I'm surprised the state hasn't contacted somebody to fix it.
but we've had some discussions with them, certainly through the construction project, and and Courtney and I did talk about this morning. We kicked that around because of the comment that had been out there, and, you know, I mean, once again, I think to do it, I mean, there's a couple different, it's a struggle because once again, if in fact you end up having an issue that develops out there, then, you know, we have a brand new main there. Plus
Yeah,
Courtney
plus
has
the
an old existing main that's still there and cut off, right?
Right, we weren't able to abandon it until we could get that looped feed. So we didn't have to shut down from 140 out to, say, the motel and Hannaford's and all that area. So there's, in essence, two ways to go about it. I mean, we still have to do an excavation there and a planned shutdown to cut that old valve out. That is part of the area that's been divoted.
Got this all or?
What's that?
This all?
Well, I was gonna, I didn't expect it to settle like it did. So there's two things we could do. We could take ownership of that, do my excavation this fall and take on the pavement, or we could wait. It doesn't matter either way for me. It's basically who's taking ownership for the patch at that point. If I do it now, I'd take ownership for it. When you do the top coat, they would go out to the almost to the yellow line, brine that, and then, cold plane it and get it all prepped for finished coat. It's not like that right now because they're not doing a finished coat. So it's essentially just a patch, which is what you would get if I go in there and dig as well. Or, I mean, we could get them or us, whatever way, it's your wishes to kind of smooth that over with some asphalt for the winter. And I can go back to it later on. I just didn't want to get into finish coat and then go in and do that. I was going to dig that up, prep it so we don't have any settling, and do that just before we plan that finish pavement. So it's all done together. It doesn't really matter on my end when we do it. It's more.
I just feel it needs to be better than what it is.
Yeah.
Especially with ice and snow coming. You see trucks going over the yellow line to get around from that. Tires are going.
Yeah.
You know, that are worried about their alignment, so somebody's gonna get hit, another car's gonna get hit because someone's trying to swerve right by that. I just feel it should be better than that. That's all.
And certainly, I think, we can certainly do that. It's all part of the unit pricing for the contract anyways. Have the asphalt people come in, let that, grind it all out, put it all in, and then we can do the work in the spring that Courtney needs to do. And when we come in to put top on, we're just gonna grind, as far as where she had to go and make that repair and, so there'll be another grind spot there and then go ahead and pull it back into School Street from there that way. It's probably gonna cost a couple more dollars than what had been anticipated
I just know last year,
that way.
Main Street here, the state made you come back. Also settled on it. All the state complained about the dip rate here.
The one at the Realtor, we only did
Expo.
once. Yeah, the highway department helped me, but that was February.
Yeah.
So what we got actually turned out well. There's been other patches down towards the bay that we've done, and DOT, actually, they have a grinder that goes on their skid steer, that they've assisted us with doing paving. We could reach out to them and see if they'd be willing to grind the edges so we can get it a little bit smoother. That's always an option, and do it in-house. I mean, some of our patches have held up really well. This is their product, the way it is right now. The highway department came, it settled. They helped us after one of the tie-ins. So it's really, whatever way you choose for us to go, we'll get it done.
Yep.
That should be on. They have to go out there to tie in.
I didn't know who
yeah.
was responsible for it.
So I put the valve in, this is one of those gray areas in the plans that wasn't caught in the beginning. We put the valve in to save money, to reduce the markup. They tied into the valve. So it was we were both there, but it was one of those chicken or the egg things that whose responsibility is
How
it?
much-
So
How much total money has the water department got in that project?
how much do we have into it?
Labor,
Um,
everything.
I got a, from the main expense account that Laura, she created a line item. The last one was 65,000. Let me just pull it up on my phone. I didn't print that one out. Sorry.
Actually, she had purchased a pipe,
But
Right.
some fittings.
There's some extra costs because we did, when they did the tie-in for Pine Street, we got a good look at the Pine Street, the School Street towards 140 Main that we didn't replace. That verified that it was in great shape, but we went down and changed all the main to stops on every house down there. So everything was brand new. So there were some extra things there. I don't have it. I can't get all my emails.
That would save you money. Just the main one going to. That initially you did take a replacement.
Right, we left it out because we had dug that one time and that was the breath house that we had to do, a corp was leaking there. So we were able to get a good look at it. But we did change out every corp and main to stop just to make sure that that was all plastic. That way we didn't get any pavement down there and one of those springs a leak and we're caught in the crosshairs. But I think from our account, our expenses were around 65,000.
Right, and then how much labor wise do you have on putting the pipe? Acting it all and putting it all in?
What they credited us for,
No, not what they credited. How much time did you have in it, what you figured?
so we have roughly about $22,000 worth of overtime and parts. And this was, this was brought to integrity. We had a discussion, we hashed certain areas out as far as, what was part of the bid, what wasn't, what we should consider business as usual, part of the job. So the credit that we ended up having was with them after several negotiations was the 5,000, what was it?
Yeah, 5,200.
5,200.
$5,200 out of 22,000?
Yeah.
Right. But you have to understand, there's certain things that are covered under the contract. The engineer was involved in this. Some of this stuff was not designed in this.
You dig water pipe, you never know what you're gonna find anyways with pipe.
I understand that, but once again, you have to understand is they're only gonna bid on what was given to them for information based upon what the engineer.
You can't bid on something that's not
Can't
there.
bid on something that is not
You
there.
don't know.
Just like, you have the guy that fixes the stairs out front, he's gonna, find something else, he's gonna charge you X amount of
But
dollars.
in
That's,
that, in
that's
all
called
being
your,
said,
that's
Virgil,
called your contingency that you add on to your price.
that's what happened.
No
is they
contingency
didn't-
in this job.
Yeah, there was no contingency on the
That's not
job.
us.
The change
It's not
order
us if
that.
they don't add a contingency.
The change orders that you are seeing from me, from my part of the project,
Yep.
were legitimately not on the plans. They were,
It's not.
we
they're
had to do,
absent.
yeah, we had to do it at unit cost. There was some valving, there was time, there was materials. So those change orders are basically, they weren't on the plans, they were missed.
But I have a problem when you get $22,000 in labor doing all their work because they can't do it without leaks.
I
They
understand.
credit you 5,000. I have a problem with that.
Night, the days they, ice were sealing, they weren't installing.
Essentially, yeah.
Now, Scott, the trees were on that bid.
One tree, two trees were on the
Trees.
bid,
One extra.
and we.
How many did we take down?
One extra, 3
Next to the Barney house, I don't think.
was not on the bid. That was a
Elm.
elm tree that was there, a dead elm in the slope.
Was pine
Pine
tree.
tree, Charlie Shields. That was in there.
The end of School Street, 140.
Thank you, chief.
And we did that. Highway Department did all that work.
Yeah, it looks good.
Thank
Do
you.
you have any extra curbing that highway department you can install there to like down that time? Curve it around? I guess I should stop there. That's for another discussion. That's
Yeah.
So I'll back
I don't
off.
have the same kind of curbing that is currently there, because that's a cut curbing.
Good.
We have just rough pieces that have been taken out in different places in town. As you know, like across the street from your place there, that all that sidewalk curbing is all, as I call it, rough granite curbing. It's not cut curbing.
I'd like to see a guardrail there because of the blind corner coming in. Cover that sidewalk piece.
So I
Discuss
I guess,
with
I
you.
guess I do have another question. Are you gonna institute a penalty? For them?
What's that?
Are you gonna institute a penalty clause? for them?
So one thing that we're not sure of, and we discussed this today, was Friday, we were told that they would likely be in to finish the punch list that we came up with on Friday afternoon site walkthrough. And nothing happened on Saturday, like they said. We haven't heard.
They were back today.
No, and I went up and met with Run Resident today at 25 School Street in regards to the driveway apron, because during our site walk, I said, I don't see that this is acceptable because of the pitch on it. And they didn't chase it back far enough. And I've emailed both the engineer and superintendent from Integrity, say, we're gonna end up having to get the paver back in because we gotta grind that and extend that back out for them to get in and out properly there. So that's something that was added to the punch list today. Once again, these things that get added to the punch list, I'd have to once again ask the engineer, it's his contract per se, as far as he wrote it. As far as when we do that, as to how that works, as far as the time limit, and then how they get assessed any type of a issue. Certainly to get a paver back in, it's, you're working with another variable here and how that all works, but once
I've
again,
had some not customers, but residents ask me about it. I said, well, make sure folks are top coat on it. We're not doing top coat. Most of them work fine. Say no to the top.
right, yeah. That
Their
is keeping that
driveways
water
are,
out of it.
yeah, but their driveways right now that's where they're gonna be. That's why they're high.
Right.
Yeah.
They're
they
still
got a
coming
little
up an
bump.
inch and a half.
They got
There's a couple of those
Right.
driveways that are gonna be a big problem.
I've seen Evil Knievel
One
go
of
and
them-
things like that.
Well, they're gonna be fun to plow. I don't know.
I don't want to talk to drivers. There is one. Allison truck.
Yeah.
That culvert that he put, going by and I stopped today. Got out and looked at the culvert. Looks like that culvert comes down from Pine Street.
Yep.
And there's an exit. It looks like it comes uphill now.
Well, it's paved based on that elevation so that hopefully it slows the water down so it doesn't catapult over that.
I'm just asking, that's why, because
Yeah.
I'm sitting here looking at it and saying,
Because that's the one that goes into the
it
18 inch.
it just didn't look right. It makes heavy right, it looks like more could just spray out that way, right at the end of it.
Right.
Because you go down from something like this, down to something like this down coming out. So I was just wondering, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, I had them actually make sure that they dished that and tried to soften that as much as possible because in talking with Adi and his wife, they say that fair amount of water that comes down on the top side, not that's underground, but
Right.
so you're adding that on top. Plus he has a paved drive, so it flows across that, riprap up above, so. And we chose not to keep riprap there because that's not what they wanted to have, so we paved that and paved it in and around that basin versus keeping it as riprap. Riprap might have slowed it down a little bit. But pavement has no resistance, so she's gonna be moving along. So we tried to flatten it out as possible there to make that come in there. And then I put riprap on the back side of it for the sake of a spillover. To wash it out. And hopefully it doesn't take, a wall. Understanding that everything that's been installed on that roadway is a town of Alton's. You own every bit of it. So when a wall's not built over 42 inches high, it's because I'm looking out for your liability. If I build a wall that's 48 inches high, I have to place on fall protection.
Right.
That means it has to have railings and they have to be compliant. So there's been both neighbors that we have constructed walls for have asked for them to be taller than what they are. And I have said, I can't do that because of liability. And the town owns every bit of that.
Right.
And, not only the product, but if it gets damaged, plowing this winter, anything happens to that wall, it's not the homeowner's wall. It is the town of
How
Alton.
on
much
the-
damage is it? They replace the damage.
It's on town property, so.
If they cause the damage, if the property owner caused the damage, of course, or if somebody went out of the road.
I just want to make sure that that's.
Yeah, I mean, if I drive into it and break it.
Right, exactly, your
I
insurance
own it.
company. But it's a town that would, be the advocate for that situation.
Yep.
That's the reason why we did the work there. On that situation.
Yes.
In your recommendations, for the change orders, state 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9. What about 1?
Change order 1 was the extension of the contract.
So that is excluded from your,
Yeah, from this year.
From this.
So we did that the other night, a
That's
couple
okay.
weeks ago. We did that change order. And
so that is that one.
correct. Yeah,
If you did the extension of the contract, then you granted it without penalty.
that's right. That was, once again, that was a discussion amongst all of us.
I
Myself.
wasn't here, so that's right. You don't have to go into.
Nope.
You don't have to go into. I wasn't here. If I want to know, I should have been here. So you don't have to go in there. I'll say the little speech. Not that you were gonna give me the speech. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be upset. But in your best interest, yours and Courtney's, you feel you have represented the taxpayers and the town of Alton. Best interest with these change orders. That's a fair amount. It's the state. I guess that's what I would be asking.
I can tell you on my plans, I should have seen that Pine Street wasn't included in there, being a one-way feed. When you get through the plans and you got streets coming off of it, you flip the page, you expect that street to be on the next page, and I completely missed Pine Street. So that was definitely on me. Speaking on my side of it, obviously, I know that me and my crew can do the work a lot cheaper. So, it's not a fair assessment from my side of the fence. I think that the prices that we have to pay, but that's what you get for hiring out. When we tied in the post office, that was not included in the thing. We did it. Probably cost us under $1,000 with time and materials, but I think as far as the completion, after really beating on them. I think if anything at all, we were definitely heard our side of it. And I think it's a fair.
My whole thing with this, more than just me watched, but you guys, how many feet of pipe did you put in over here by the bank? 600 feet of pipe. How long did that take?
2 nights.
How much?
2 nights.
2 nights.
Are we really having a discussion?
Well, that's why I disagree with a lot of these.
Yeah,
change orders.
that's the thing. You did that with 2 guys in the highway department helping. And
That was fusing, that was fusing
600
the
feet
pipe
and
and
that was
putting it in the
fusing it and
ground.
doing all the taps and it
At
took
6
them
o'clock in the morning.
what was it, 3 months to put in
That's my problem. with some of these change orders. I mean,
That's
got
his point.
the one.
Yeah.
To them.
to them, right? And that's,
Change order 4, you got the Church Street tap, opposite side of Church Street. The tap wasn't exactly where the print's showing, which you never know until you dig anyways.
Right.
And they're charging us $6,000. They're charging 11 hours for a dozer. What the hell was that, down at the church, the dozer? I mean, I disagree with these bills.
That's why I asked the question of the director and the superintendent. They feel they acted best in their ability to represent the town of Albany's taxpayers. So like, this is a fair price of $38,706. Negotiate with the. So I asked, did they tell me yes?
I don't, because they're willing to credit a $22,000 bill for $5,000. When the water company spent most of the summer there putting the pipe together that they couldn't put together with no leaks.
I wasn't there on the job at that site. I've only heard what we've been told, but I have to rely on these 2 here the consumer possessions.
Mr. Chairman, I believe you've also really negotiated these.
yeah,
With them.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't something they just threw in front of you.
It started out a lot higher. A lot higher.
I can tell you it was close to being double
Really?
as to what it is.
My honest opinion, and I said this from the beginning of the project. And it should be probably a lesson that we awarded it to the lowest price. Change orders are never cheap. So are they inaccurate with what they're doing? No, any change order is gonna be a lot of money. So I think that's, that's fair. But the investigative work on the companies that we hire to do it in the future, I think needs to look a little bit more than the bottom line. From my point of view, from the water department, you've got water users and water taxpayers. They do both, okay? They paid a lot more money for the low bidder, plus change orders, plus the work of my guys. I don't think the whole job was fair from the beginning. Whether the change orders are one thing, but the whole of the project, I don't think it was fair either, if that makes sense. I
Believe
think,
the side.
Yeah.
Not to be the same.
Yeah, either way.
We went with the higher.
We also went by recommendations from the department.
Anytime we
We go by recommendations of who we feel as though is the best
yep,
for the product.
I knew just from years before being a water commissioner. He said, this is the way it's lined out, and this is here, and this is there, and this is there. I knew that wasn't gonna happen. Just over the years, every time you dug, you found something different.
Different.
right.
It's gonna happen.
Still doing it.
It's still happening now.
Change orders would be there for one of
That's on
this
any
company
job.
or another company
Right.
on some of those things.
Absolutely.
And you're right, more investigating work should be done. Not every company is perfect. Whether we went with another company, we probably would have had change orders, we would have had problems there. Part of it came with curbing, then part of it came with concrete for the sidewalk, waiting for them to get their crews in. Now we're waiting for signage, which one would have thought they would have ordered the signage way back in June because they knew what they had to have.
yeah.
As far as the crosswalks and everything. That lays back on them too, because they knew this had to be done. We did not know everything that was found or that they found. Thankfully, you had a great crew to start to put out. So my only question is, do you feel this is a fair settlement on change orders? Your professional opinion. Or is there more room that the selectmen come back and say, we help us?
I'm doing a lot of talk.
I mean, when you look at it overall, I think it works out to, you look at a percentage ratio on this situation here, I think it's about, if I did I was trying to do some quick math in the back there. as to what-
38,000.
What the percentage is actually here, we're talking about $38,000 around it to $40,000 out of this. Out of
900.
Out of a close to a $900,000.
$1,000 job.
7%.
In change
Yeah.
orders. And in most contracts that I've done is generally it's been, depending on the size of the contract, it's usually been between 5 and 10% of contingency that usually set, depending on the size of the dollar amount of the job that you might have. I mean, lots of times on the bigger road jobs, I used to do 5% or 7%. And so when I look at this, and like Courtney said, as far as the negotiation goes back and forth, and I'll tell you, I mean, she's exactly right as far as how they, when they look at these different things, when these people come in at this price, and they got it so tight that they don't have that extra wiggle room, where you end up having somebody else who figured it in there, things went smooth, okay?
But that's,
Right out of the gate, and then they're a little bit softer to you when they prepare these, because they'll be willing to eat it.
but that shouldn't be our fault that they didn't figure in their bid of contingency.
And that was very,
Well, they don't, you're right. I mean.
You figure it on every bid.
and we voiced that to them
Yeah, we
several
did.
times because
Yep.
But they, of course, they argued that with us, and they said, well, we figure it so tight so we can be
get it.
competitive,
So they can get the
so they
job.
can get the jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
so they can.
once again, I
Put the
think that's a
Vaseline with it.
gamble as well, that ends up happening, overall.
You're about 4.5%.
Yeah, I think it's a lesson learned and we move on from it. And
It's easy to do because they're not done yet.
Well, every job's gonna be.
Sometimes
Oh, you're gonna have,
I think it worked out to be, I think you're right, Brock,
Especially
I think it was like
utilities.
4.38%.
it's 4% somewhere. in
it's
there.
not
And that's how I have to weigh it, to
discussions
be
that you
honest
have
with
with
you.
them negotiating.
and if you look at any of these type
Really?
contractors,
Did
they
we
all
meet with
come
them
in.
about these bills 3 times?
At least.
Well,
At
you
least
have
Three
to-
times you
At least 3
negotiated
times.
with them,
Yeah, but
Bigger outfits will have a contingency, right? You bid.
we're able
I
to
bid
get them down
hydrants
to
and
this,
everything else.
to this from,
Put a contingency.
Yeah,
higher.
some of the discussions were really nitpicky. If you, in the beginning of the project, it was discussed between myself and the crew, do you have 4-inch repair couplings?
Mhm.
Didn't have a lot of them because we're mostly 6-inch. I got some. Luckily, we had them. And when they hit things, we had to use them. The discussion ends up being, you start chasing your tail that, they didn't know it was there. The plans didn't say it was there.
Right.
If we hit it, we were gonna put it on there anyway, the wrap, and then bill you for it. So we just used yours. So it was kind of like we just chased our tails. It
until you were
literally,
able to come out with something, agreement.
I think
Of this,
being able to
numbers.
get what we did, because there was a lot of time lost on the first startup of the project. There's no doubt about that. Church Street was smooth, took no time at all once we got the kinks worked
right,
out.
right.
I think the amount that we did get back is a win. It's not what I wanted, obviously, because I wouldn't have started at 22,000. But,
Yeah.
And understand, and we figured, or Courtney did, she figured all that at how she does her rates. In other words, that's not just our flat rate
right,
as to, what it actually cost us.
Yeah,
You
but it should have been a
understand.
rate plus administrative rate too.
She has a.
we have
the whole
a,
thing that's
just like
set up.
any water user, if there's something, we make sure everything's covered. So,
I mean, not
And the
just-
other part of it
Just
isn't,
your hourly rate, but you gotta add in your insurances and everything else added into it. So
yeah,
you're
that's
up
how, I mean,
75, $80 an hour.
it was very detailed.
yeah, she has a better way of doing that because of the way her funding
How
all
our
works with the
department works.
revolving fund and everything like that. She has that percentage ratio to make sure that everything's covered and then some, in my opinion, which I think is wonderful. Whereas when we cost out our jobs, we cost them out just like you said, which is our insurances and our wages and that kind of stuff there. So it's a little bit more bare bones, where she ends up having some overhead that is kind of a risk overhead that is a little bit more than our risk overhead. I guess I would call it that, administratively aspect of it, or just the risk of water. I mean, water is an additional risk involved here in this situation here. So I mean, I'd have to say that, you know, I feel that even though we had time invested in not only the oversight, but also the crew and being involved in that project, I hope and feel, and I feel confident. I mean, once again, I'm not a water person. And is that because of that extra time, hopefully we are going to have a win-win situation out of that because we have that extra that's been put into it. And you could say, well, that's all part of having the low end bidder that you ended up having to invest that added piece to it, you know. The other part was we didn't have an engineer that remained on the job for the entire time. And I don't know that having an engineer and paying an engineer to be on the job would have saved us any money or aggravation. I still think we'd be spending what we spent in support from on the water side of things. Road side of things was a little different. We're chasing a few of these little small things now. But
Are you gonna be calling them again tomorrow to schedule when they can come back to finish?
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll find out tomorrow. I mean, I
Get them back.
expected, you know, I mean, I think there had been some issues of forecasted rain. Maybe they figured they weren't coming back.
I think that was that bad, Judge.
Now they have a day or two left?
they have it's a pretty significant punch list, but it's all small items. You know what I mean? So it's not,
Got
it's
some-
more just pay attention to detail
They've
type
got to
things.
fix and clean up around some of the water valve boxes.
Yeah, one of the
probably.
valves, the brand new valves was paved right over, wasn't even raised up. Another one's 4 inches down.
Yeah.
So, you know,
But
it's
this is all
attention.
amendment.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
all-
It's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that whole walkthrough on Friday with them. Engineer created the list,
So they
circulated
know.
the list.
They know what they need to do.
No, they
to
got
finish.
it. There's some mortar joints.
Every
on
job's
some
gonna have a
urban
punch
that-
list.
There's always a punch list.
You're gonna have it.
There always is. I know, but their date's already gone by.
I guess my question, they said they were gonna be down. They should at least give you a phone. They do not start giving you phone calls each day. You're down here, then I think we should start.
I think they should be penalized anyways. They're not done by due date. And we extended the due date for
That was last Friday.
them. We did extend it.
Yeah,
But what they're saying is all that's left is their walkthrough that they did this past Friday, and there was a punch list of things to be done.
Signs.
Should have still all been done.
The line painting and
Due date, a
Some
due
of the
date's a
things-
due date.
You know, are crucial to, you know, winter. I mean, it's getting cold quick. So
Yes.
But a due date's a due date.
Yeah.
They knew the due date when it was done. We gave them the extra, 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's true.
So
I think we should negotiate it's a $39,000 figure.
that come from the due date because that they missed is 38,000.
And I think we should possibly negotiate some fines in that. Because I don't think it's gonna be done for another week or two.
It's very possible.
We don't approve the change orders till the punch list is done and everything's done you're supposed to do. And once they're done, we'll see how long it took from what you guys extended their deadline
Yep.
to.
Yep.
How long it takes to say, you guys said you'd be done. We extended it for you like you asked.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'll convey that to the engineer. He's the one that drafted the contract. You know, there might be some language in the contract that says that, you know, they have X amount of days from the date of, you know, in order to complete that, but I'd have to ask him. He wrote the contract and that was pre-me, so I mean, I'll ask him.
is there a timeline that you folks would like to see completion done by instead of
Yeah, it
leaving it
was-
open-ended?
Yeah, last Friday.
Okay.
Days are open.
Tell them it's costing them now.
The sooner the better.
But it's what they need, my feeling is what they need to come back, the engineer does to you, us, saying, why isn't it done? This is what you asked for. So they can say whether or not, but our guys worked up in the rain. You did if there was a leak. So if they had to rake a little loam in the rain.
Yeah, loom's pretty hard to rake
I
in
can
rain. It just
understand the
falls
painting,
up.
But we've had some good days, they could have gotten the paint done. That's, doesn't fall on us, that's false.
Yeah, I don't,
They need to come back and finish. It's as simple as that. The sooner
The
the
other
better.
thing is, I would
The other
like,
day, it looks like rain on.
Yeah.
the other thing is, I would have liked to get all the bills before we went and negotiated.
I just had one more question. That $38,000 figure, they're going along with that?
Yes,
Because you negotiated a lot with them.
correct,
So they've agreed to that figure.
correct.
That's their figure.
Yeah, okay.
That's their submission after
Yeah.
our discussion.
After your
Okay.
discussion.
I just want to make sure of that, they ain't gonna come
And you
back with.
both, again, reiterating what Ruben said, you were both comfortable with that figure.
Yeah, I mean,
Thought
for
it was
this,
a
for
fair
this
figure.
job, based upon the percentage,
Yep.
looking at the ratio.
Which is basically 4.5%.
I'll be honest with you, if it was at what they had submitted the first time,
Yeah, no way.
that wouldn't be happening. No way, you'd be, because you'd
It
be,
was,
We were looking at $76,000.
yeah.
Okay.
it was 80
They
plus.
were gonna try for everything they could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you guys did a good job, both of you,
Oh, I think so.
beating them up to get
To get them down.
4% on $1 million job isn't a big.
And then I think at this point, you can use that as our first time. They're looking at $38,000 and you guys went beyond the extension with the board drainage.
And you're not
And
done.
we extended it, and they're still not done.
Right.
So,
Well, in reality is I ended up giving them an extra week because then I sat here in the board meeting and said, I know that they're not gonna make that deadline.
That's right.
I mean, and I told them that. I said, just so you know, I bought you another week by adding that on there. And I didn't have to do that.
No.
And once again, the penalization clause certainly is there that, once again, I just need to know what the terminology is. Just-
And again, like, I think it was Ruben that said, if you bid on this job at the beginning and you know you're gonna have signs and there's gonna be traffic lights, well, you order that at the beginning of the job.
Right.
So you have it when the job's done.
I don't use that. I don't take that as an excuse. I mean, I know that those signal things, school signal
Yeah.
things were ordered, at the beginning of or in the job. I mean, the bases have been in since
quite a while.
at least a month now,
Yeah,
if not
They've been in
longer.
for a while.
So I mean, from what they're solar powered, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
Right.
I got a whole garage full of them right now, because Ryan had them all delivered to me that go around town here for the crosswalks.
Yeah.
So,
So they were available.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well-
they're, at least those crosswalk ones are available.
Same thing, right?
School ones, I don't know.
Put 'em in.
So I just think, that, as far as our representative, I just say, we'll talk long and hard about this, but now you're not done by the deadline. Now they're looking to institute the penalty.
Yep.
And stop, that way they will stop doing that back down.
Perfect.
That
That works for me
that
because
also might light
I
a
took
fire
the
under them
brunt
to
for
get
the
it done a
pipe
little
being
faster.
late. That's why they got the extension to begin with, so.
Plus,
I have
tell
no
them they can
problem
come
with
in and
that.
meet with us if they got a real problem.
If they have a problem, yeah. Schedule a meeting with us.
What version do I have?
I've done, it. happy to. We've
More
done
than
that
happy to.
before in the past.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I will go with the 38,051, but I won't authorize to pay this. Not until I know the job's done, and if they don't get it done, we institute the penalty clause.
I'm saying, I don't have a problem with it, but I want to see the job finished.
I have
And
a
then we'll sit
problem with
back
it.
and see.
Why don't we table this?
Yep.
We get some more.
Yes, and see if they can get it done this week.
Yeah.
If you think that's enough time.
Oh, sure.
Should
I
be.
think they can, I mean, absent trying to get this paver and I mean, they have, I don't know how much pull they have over the paver. To get him in to make these other repairs and that's
But
something we're gonna have.
that's not our problem.
That piece out, but
You'll probably try to charge us back for that. Don't call me back.
I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, you would have thought that they should have called that out, especially on that driveway for an example. I mean, I just walking along.
You're talking about the one by the big blue garage?
Yes.
Yeah,
It looks like a tabletop for a motocross jump.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, what they did was based upon, because of the elevations of the sidewalk
Yeah.
and that the driveway dipped down so much from that, which, because you increase the elevation of your sidewalk. And with that in mind, they basically built a asphalt sidewalk across the end of, they had a very wide driveway. Built an asphalt sidewalk across
didn't
there to
go
keep it
back
flat
far
so that
enough.
when the kids walked it or pedestrians walked.
Just
across,
never ran it out far enough into the driveway to
should have
get.
run
Take the
it
grade
out.
out.
Yeah,
The driveway's not in great shape. Don't get me wrong, it's cracked up and.
Will be now.
Find a spot to do it. Always a challenge. We all deal with it.
Yeah.
Mark will tell you that.
yeah,
When we
absolutely.
go to make a decision on that.
All right.
But I
But are
like,
they're gonna wanna use unit cost for that, right?
yeah. Yeah, we're gonna pay for that.
Right.
That's just.
That's
how-
not just
that's
gonna be
how it's
done.
going. It's not it's their fault that it maybe wasn't done
correctly.
to our liking. But whatever the additional cost is, as far as a pavement unit cost, we have to pay for that. Whatever
Yes.
product is installed there,
Well, that's what I was asking.
which is,
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Guys don't take it easy on the gun, no. And how to-
That's it.
But if they can't make a driveway decent to go in and out of, that's the contractor's fault. That's not the town's fault. That's the contractor's fault. You shouldn't be paying for anything. They should have to fix it and be smarter when they do a job. I mean, you know, when you're doing a job and you look at something, you know it ain't right, you're gonna fix it. If you're any type of contractor.
Yeah, but we also gotta look at it this way, Virgil, is we hired them.
And we should have fired them.
Well, that would have been a difficult thing to do
Yeah.
midway through this project. That couldn't happen.
Well, we're more than
Now we
midway.
just gotta get it.
We're more than midway.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to table this until the works director water superintendent come back to us and say they talked to him.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Otherwise, we can still be here another hour.
Yeah.
Got plenty of notes.
Thank you.
Courtney's just laughing at us.
I didn't laugh at you.
I do have one other change order though, but
Huh?
I do have one other change order in here.
Oh, yeah,
Is really deals with the highway department's
so you don't need me.
part of this.
Number two,
No, you can leave.
Like, no, I'll go back there. You don't need me right here. Okay.
change order
Thank
number
you.
two. Thank you.
So this isn't, I mean, it doesn't have any number attached to it. It's just that we did not put contingency in the job, even though we won't, I don't believe we will be exceeding the ultimate, what you approve for a project cost, is I had to go and purchase additional materials in order to satisfy the project.
To fix the corner and everything. Yeah.
To do those things. So, so I have a bill now from Gilbert Block for the landscaping blocks and such. So I want to pay that bill, and I would just soon not pay it out of my budget. I'd just soon pay it out of the road.
No problem with that, but we missed the discount date.
The discount date is the 10th on some of these. I wasn't able to get some of them. Wasn't able to.
Statement date of 8/31. Missed that discount.
Right.
That would have been done, that should have been made in by January 9/10.
Right.
So we missed that one.
But the 10/10 one, which I called out those discounts, if in fact you approve the amount tonight of the
We can get that.
44, 31 and 29 cents, and we'll be able to get those discounts. Able to give that.
We
to-
returned the ballots,
Yes,
so we got a credit on that. I just didn't see really the credit memo on that. That's-
yeah, actually, I just got that credit memo in, and that amount would be, this amount would be the not to exceed. It probably will come in a little bit less. I do have the credit slips back. I just want to make sure that I have out here, because we did get a credit back from returning those pallets and unused blocks, and that was for $328.33. So by rights, we should be, only like 41 and change, but I do have another meeting tomorrow with with Artie and Tammy, to meet with them at 2:00 tomorrow. Not sure what that discussion will be, but I do know that they wanted to talk about the wall.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve the Public Works Director to pay for the purchase of Gilbert Block. Check cut so we can get the discount for the second month.
Second.
So what's the
And
amount?
take
for
it
the-
out of the capital restriction.
It won't go over
What is
44.31.
presented tonight by his letter. Because there's two amounts in there.
Yeah.
There's gonna be less the credits, so I can't give you that.
Right, you just won't go over that amount.
Just
Okay.
over that amount.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded that?
Well,
I did.
I'll second.
Virgil. Selectmen's report. Thank you, Scott. Oh,
Mr.
hang on.
Chairman, before you move on,
Yeah.
right before the meeting, you asked that all the selectmen receive a copy on this project of every single bill and to have a meeting with Scott and Courtney
We
present.
just went through it also.
Okay, so I can disregard that. All right, thank you. That's what I wanted to confirm.
No, we just went.
We were gonna table it, and then we ended up getting into it.
Okay, thank you.
Selectmen's report. Bob.
Met with the budget committee the other night. Went pretty good. Had to reiterate that the board of selectmen makes decisions on certain things. Some of the issues that were brought up, I had to say again, that is what the board of selectmen have voted to do.
Thank you.
We're not going into the nitty-gritty.
Going into it.
Ruben?
Only thing I had, Mr. Chairman. So commend Brian, actually like the
Monument Square is what the best it has ever had. Sitting here, plus certain areas that he's mowing. So he has done an outstanding job. So I wanted that record that I appreciate the way Monument Square looks now and other parks do.
Had the good rain this year too far.
Yep.
Good.
Does look good.
Rob?
Agreed.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Paul?
Not at this time.
Not this time. All right. Liz? Town administrator report.
I just have one thing that I just impromptu, wanted to add. Bob, you reminded me of that. So I went to a CIP meeting last week as well, and they have instructed me to go out and get updated estimates on a sprinkler system for this building. And it's like deja vu from the previous meeting and with the budget committee. And I wanted to bring it to you because you are the ones who would request that for this building and requested of me. I don't recommend that be done at this time. Towards the end of the however many years on the CIP for the sprinkler system for the town hall. If you want to do that, then that's fine. But we have an estimate that the CIP plan is based on with a 5% increase each year. And I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, I don't think she should be out getting it.
It's an estimate.
CIP, that's how CIP works. We put estimates in, say this is what we need over so many years.
They have some new membership. So I think there's a little bit of a learning curve going on for, that maybe they don't realize they don't really have that
Power.
exact authority, but I just wanted
That
to
was
bring
the
it
other
to your
thing
attention.
I wanted to ask you. When IT goes in front of them, think one of the selectmen should be there to help Josh?
Josh does pretty well.
Oh, I know.
You mean in front of CIP?
Yeah. For the,
I think he
IT
should be
budget,
fine. I think he should be fine. And as they have these meetings, they will, I think, start to learn more and more what is under the umbrella of their authority and what isn't.
I like budget committee. All these years, they still do not understand the authority. Only there to recommend the budget to the taxpayers. They're not there to set policy. They keep trying to set policy, different things, selectmen, but they still have to remind each year. It's out of the realm of their authority.
yeah, they just set the budget to the people.
So
Yep.
when they get into management, they're getting beyond their,
That's correct.
should stay on.
Absolutely.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving on to approval of minutes. I would like to see the first, let me get the date here first. Is on the September 20th minutes. I would like to see, because there's not a lot of discussion that we had. Wrong date, hang on, I do. September 20th, 2021.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
On the September 27th minutes. I would like to see more of the discussion put in on one under other business deemed necessary with the lots on Sunset.
Wait a minute, where are you? Oh, you're on the
I'm
27th
on
meeting?
page 2, down on one other business as deemed necessary. I would like a lot more of that discussion put in there. There's not a lot of discussion in there. Page 2, September 27th.
Well, I guess, Mr. Chairman, what I'd say at this point, that maybe Stacy will go over what you want added back in there when you listen to the meeting.
Well, I'd like the whole conversation of it, not just parts of it. I mean, this says what Liz said on it, but it doesn't say what she recommended to us and who told her recommended to us. It doesn't say the discussion we had on about merging the lots and not merging them.
Well, if you want to word for word, I'll make a
I do.
motion at the table of minutes. Oh, September 27th, and that more completed discussion put in on merging of the lots.
Second. Hang on, because we missed it. All those in favor? Aye.
I got a concern on the minutes then. If we're asking for verbatim minutes,
Not verbatim.
well, you're starting to go down that road, Mr. Chairman.
No, I'm not going down that road, but there's no
Well,
writing in there at all about our discussion on it. None. And there should be, because when you look up minutes later on down the road, it helps to have that discussion in those minutes.
you're looking for more
More detail.
description, and I can show you quite a few spots possibly that could have more description too.
That happens a lot.
And
And,
they should be put in.
well, you're asking
It doesn't
for,
have to be verbatim, but you have to have part of that discussion in there, so you know when you go back in minutes,
see,
a year from now or 2 years from now, what it was about, what it was meant to be.
that's the problem with minutes. Once you get putting too much stuff in there, you can get in trouble down the road.
No.
And that's why I see a lot of towns go to condensed, what I call condensed minutes. Basically, what came up, a discussion occurred, and a motion was made, and the vote.
I would like. to
That's
see
the
more
most
information in
important
there.
part of the minutes is the vote and the motion.
Mr. Chairman, if you look on page 2, look at item number 1. There's an entire paragraph on those 2 lots. A large paragraph.
Yeah, I know, I read them.
Hey,
But
what-
that's all on page 2.
You said there was nothing in there about the
It's all
merger of
what-
2 lots.
It's all of what you said. But it doesn't have everything that was said in the discussion that pursued on it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have spoken.
All right, we have to go back because we forgot to do non-public minutes on the September 20th.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve the September 20th, 2021 session minutes.
Motion approved, but I'll abstain from it. Second,
Both.
not to divulge.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Brock.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear him.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain, aye.
On to consent agenda approval.
Consent agenda as presented on October.
I'll second.
I have one question for you, Liz. On the planning department, is that the normal start? It is.
Yes, it is.
Okay. On the table and seconded by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's see. No appointments, so we'll go to public input. There he goes. Jumping
don't want to take up any more of your valuable time tonight, but I figured it was only appropriate that I come address you at some point. So Patrick O'Brien, 140 Frank Siegelman Highway, campus up there. Also the new full-time captain for the fire department. I wanted to just touch base. I know some of you know me more so than others in various capacities. Ruben probably stretching back to when I was 16 and just got my driver's license and told me to be careful with his dually because you have to take wide turns. But I wanted to just give you kind of a quick recap of where I'm at and how I got here. I'm not sure if you had the chance to take a peek at my resume when this all came through, but I moved to the area when I was 14. My family's lake house over in Barnstead. Of course, moving up here the first year Prospect Mountain opened, didn't really know a whole lot of people. So I quickly got involved with some extracurricular stuff, one of those being the fire department. So I've been involved with the fire department since essentially I was 14 years old in 2004. I've had a number of mentors along the way, and all of them have been rock solid. And I think it would be ill of me not to thank some of those people that have come through. Al Johnson, Scott Williams, Jeff Roberts was an enormous influence, especially with the highway department and the time that I served there. The highway department was also a very unique opportunity for me, working there for 5 years. I think actually every year I was promoted to a different position, but that really truly gave me the opportunity to learn the town very intricately, especially the roads, which helps tremendously on the fire department side. I did obtain employment with the town of Bedford last January, and it was a huge decision to leave because I found a home there for sure, but it's not where I planted my roots. I excelled through their probationary period in their terms in record time. They don't think anybody else has ever made it through their onboarding process and their checkoff process with vehicles and equipment as quick as I have. So I hold that trophy pretty high. But I was also very reassured to see that the way we are doing things in Alton, although we are a smaller department with very few people and no true full-time staff yet, that we're on the cutting edge of a business that changes very, very regularly. We've got to stay on top of things. We're not fighting the same fires we fought 25 years ago. It changes almost by the minute in some cases with the way various products are made and that kind of thing. So I really just wanted to thank you for the opportunity. This is obviously where I've called home, and I have no intentions on leaving and getting back to my roots. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming home.
Yeah.
More public input. You want to yell at us?
I just would like to echo Jack Newton from
Holtonboro City.
I just would like to echo Ruben's comments in regards to the grounds work that's been done by Brian. This evening, I took a walk actually over at Jones Field. I don't get over there nearly as much as I'd like to, and walked over there and walked that facility today. Needed a little bit of a kick for myself to get out and move around. I was in the office a lot, and I thought things looked very well.
Yeah.
Well, so
Good.
I think
I
we're
just would
pretty
like to-
lucky for being down on
and I'll
laborers.
send a note to Kelly to make sure it gets to Brian.
I just
That's
think
very
we're
well.
pretty lucky for being down on laborers and stuff and getting done what we've got done this year. And they've all worked hard at it. And I commend them all.
Done a good
Yeah,
job.
done a great job.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. We have to go into non-pub. Oh, wait. We'll go there. Make a motion that we go into non-pub under RSA 91-A. (3), (2), (A). That's it, A. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.